So this is actually going to be for phase 2. I didn't cover it, but I should have, so that's on me. So this part, you finish level 1, you need to have a level 2, and it needs to do all the same things. So we've got our slimy slide scroll guy. Side scroll? Maybe he slides. We've already made him a prefab, but we need our canvas and our game manager and everything that keeps track of stuff. So I can drag that and make a prefab, but I'm going to do one step really quick that we forget to do often and causes lots of problems. Will, how many people did you infect with your virus?
Remains to be seen. That's still
okay. All right.
It wasn't your virus. I think it was Tanner's virus.
Wow. Okay. That just came right back on me. So I've got my canvas. It's got the game manager script on it that's keeping track of keys and lives and coins and everything else. It's got hooks to the sound clips, everything else. Canvas will not work without this other little thing that we didn't even talk about. When we made a canvas, or when we made a text that created a canvas, it also created this thing called event system. Most of the time, we don't even touch the thing. But if I make a copy of my canvas and drag it into my new level and there's no event system in there, nothing works. So that's an error we've run into way too many times. So I'm just gonna take my event system and I'm gonna make it a child of the canvas. So I'm just dragging it up on top of that, and now it's there. So now when I make a prefab of my canvas, then it'll have everything it needs to work. Okay, so that's there. That's level 1. I don't know what else. Oh, because I moved that. So I'm gonna save this, pop over to scene or level 2, and go find my prefab again. Now just drag the canvas in, and everything should work. We hope. Lives, got 3. I don't think I have any keys or coins, so that's not working out. Made a little shrine because I had to, because someone made music for it, and then it just, yeah, was dropped. So I'm assuming, since that's not saying like text, that it's all hooked up and working. So make sure you bring your canvas into level 2 along with your player prefab, and then you'll be good to go. Save that. And now for phase 3. I've got open twice. So we need a copy of this. This is another one of those things that we've got on the asset repo. I'm 97% sure this came from a Humble Bundle somewhere. Spreadsheet 1 is fine. Drag it in. So open my sprites folder. Just gonna rename this now. So I'll just rename the file tonight. And then drag it in. Okay. As usual, this will become habit. It'll be fine. We're going to go and do all the import stuff. So let's change sprite mode to multiple. I'm thinking on this one we did 48, but that's why, yeah. So 48 pixels per unit. This is a little more high res than the other stuff we've done. So 48 there. And then we want to make sure, what did I just hit? I hate that. The screen changed. I don't know what I did. Oh, I opened advanced. That's what it was. Okay. And then filter mode, I'm going to change to point so it doesn't blur anything. Apply. Open my sprite editor. And so this guy is lots and lots of different animations. And we want them all to encapsulate everything. So in parts where he's standing still, we're going to have like some dead space in front of him, because the full size will also include all that swirly stuff. We've got the settings we need already figured out, so we want to do by cell count. We want to do 1412. So we do slice, grid by cell count, 14 on the column, 12 on the row. You can see we've got nice boxes around all of them. There's dead space. They didn't put it all on the consecutive lines. I don't know why. It's not my sprite, but I like it. Okay. Now that exists. All those cool little frames. So I'm gonna let me go back to level 1 and do my work there. So I'm gonna save this. We love Slimy, but we're gonna replace him. He can be a bad guy. Be all right. All right, so I'm gonna go to my sprites. Yes. And let me just make sure. Yes, as a matter of fact. Okay. So drag the whole sprite sheet in, and then we'll do that. All right, I'm just making sure. Just making sure. Okay, so I'm gonna drag this guy over here. He's kind of largish. We're gonna set up a new knight animation, hero animation, whatever. And right now that is everything. That's all of his stuff. So if we play him, I think it'll be all those frames, which looks kind of silly. All right. Selected window animation. Got it. Oof. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go to window, animation, or apparently Control 6 will get us there. And it's got everything, all the frames. I want to make a new clip. So just call this walk. And I'm going to be very specific about what I put in there. So here we go. Oh, I jumped. So we want to do idle first. I'm going to do walk anyway. So run is 84 to 91. Great if they were numbered. I hope they're numbered. All right, so I've got walk. I've got my guy down here. I'm actually going to move this window. Get out of the way. I want to dock the window up here. There we go. Okay, got my knight, and it was, what did I say? 84 to 91. All right, so they're right down here. 84 to 91. So I'm going to shift click, grab all of these. These are our running frames. Slide those in, and now we've got. I want to set my samples to 12. And then we've got cheat the whole thing. I am used to having like 4 screens when I do stuff. So doing it all on one screen for the purposes of videos and classes is just painful. Let's see, try that. And nope, doesn't want it. Excited. Who said that? All right. We'll do idle. So idle is 53 to 57. I'm just going to keep adding clips here. So create a new clip. Idle. If I could hold a number in my head for more than 2 seconds, it'd be great. 53 to 57. These are numbered, so I'm just going to go grab those. Drag them up, set the samples to 12. Okay, let's see if it'll preview that. jump, 81 to 83. Clip, call it jump. Samples to 12. And so I don't know how long we're going to be in the air. So we're going to have two little bits for our jump. Jump is like the initial like launch into the air. And then we'll have another one that we're going to call midair. So I'm going to create a new clip. Midair. And this will just be the one that we loop over and over again until we land. It's 51 and 52. I'm setting my samples to 12 over and over again. Just slows it down. At 60 samples, it just cycles way too fast. I think we're good except the attack. And that'll be 31 to 40, and we'll do samples at 30. Clip, attack, using this bit. Faster samples. All right, so we've got all that going. Oh, for the love. There we go. And then the first one I did has all the frames, and I'll use that on my menu. So now we just need an animation controller. So let me find that. Which is probably created in our... There it is, night animation, night 0. There's our animation controller. Okay. So this is the animation controller that got created when we first slid that out here, and it's got everything, including night animation, which is all of our frames. We don't need that. It's going to look really silly him just doing all of this pantomiming stuff. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to make this idle here our layer default state. So when we first come in, we don't have anything, we haven't pushed any buttons, we haven't done anything. He's just going to just bop, just his idle animation. And then we'll set up walk, jump, midair, and attack. So is running, is jumping, do attack. All right. I'm going to come over here, and in my animator window, I've got these layers, and I've got a parameters tab. And so I'm going to add some new parameters to this. These are what we're going to call our animations later. So I'll do a Boolean for is running. Hit this plus button again, do another Boolean for is jumping. However you spell it, make sure you, spelling it right is good, but if you spell it wrong everywhere because they need to match. Then I'm going to do a trigger for attack. Will attack, should attack, what did I decide to call it over there? Say will attack. Do attack. Okay, I can change the name. Delete that. Trigger, call it do attack. So a Boolean, as we know, is in code is either true or false. It's always either one or the other. Either we're running or we're not. Same with the jumping. We're either jumping or we're not. And so I'm going to change this true or false in my code, depending on whether we're getting input, whether we land on the ground, all that kind of stuff. Attack is using a trigger. I don't have to keep track of, am I attacking or not attacking? It's just going to be like set it once, call it, it deletes itself. So I say do attack, it'll do the cycle, it'll go away. It's like a self-deleting Boolean. Just goes away. So we just want to call it once, be done with it. So that's why I had that set to a trigger. I think we get to code now. We got to set those transitions. It'll look something like this, and then we get to code. Okay. So we go from idle to run, to jump to midair, okay, got it. All right. So attack, since we're doing it as a trigger, I want to be able to attack from any state. I don't want to wait for my run animation to be done. When I say attack, hit it. So I'm going to have that go from any state, and there's going to be no other cycle there. So I'm going to right click on any state, make transition, drag over to attack, and so that'll happen. And if I select this little arrow between them, my tile palette in the way. Let's get rid of him for now. Go away, tile palette. All right, so I've clicked on the arrow between any state and attack, and scroll down here to conditions in the inspector, and the list is empty. I'm going to hit plus, and then I've got a drop down now, and it's do attack. So when do attack gets called, it'll transition from whatever we're doing to attack. And then when attack is done, we want to go back to idle. So I'm going to right click from attack, make transition, drag down to idle. And that's just going to happen when attack is done. So that should work fine. A couple things that I didn't set up that I need to set up is walk needs to be something that loops. So I'm going to double click on walk here, which I guess I could call run. There we go. No. All right, I'll come down here. There's my walk. There it is. So I click on this animation right here. Oh, it's already on. It's already on the loop. So that's fine. That's what I wanted to check. Attack. Let me just check that. I don't want attack to loop. I want that to happen once and be done. Idle can loop. That's good. Jump, we want to happen once because that's the launch into air. And then mid-air, we like looping. Okay, so that's good. Now, just drag these around wherever it makes sense. Now I want to be able to walk back and forth. So I'm going to go from idle and make transition to walk. And then when walking's done, I'm going to make transition back to idle. So I got arrows going both ways. That'll help. All right. So with the arrow pointing from idle to walk or run, whatever we called it, I'm going to go ahead and make the condition here be is running as true. So as soon as is running as true, we're going to go to that. As soon as is running as false, we'll go back from walk to idle. So on that condition, on that arrow, is running false. So these are code things they're going to call animations. It's fun. I like it. Okay, and then from idle, I'm going to make a transition to jump. And that transition will be based on is jumping is true. In jump, we set to not loop. So he's going to launch really quick. And as soon as that's done, he's going to make transition to midair. In midair, I don't need to set anything there. When jump is done, it knows to go to midair. And midair is just going to loop until we transition back to idle. And we'll do that once we hit the ground. So on the arrow from midair back to idle, the condition here is going to be is jumping is false. All right. That should all set up. Idle's our default state. Everything kind of goes to and from that. And we need to change our script. So it needs to have all the other things on it. So we need to set up our night now as the same thing we had on slimy slide scroller, side scroller. Blah, blah, blah. Let's copy and paste that in, and we'll explain it as we go. So this guy, night, call him night player, just to be sure. He's got an animator on him, which is cool. But we need to add all the other stuff that we had. So go back to my scene here. I'm going to add a circle collider to him. He's going to be flipping them back and forth. Yeah, that'll work. So if like something hits up here, he's gonna get hurt. It's gonna feel cheap. It's gonna feel like an 8-bit game. So that's his circle collider. I don't think we need to do anything there. Let's set the constraints, not the context. Where's the constraints? Oh, the constraints is on the rigid body I haven't set up yet. All right, rigid body 2D. We'll add that. It's got gravity. We like that. We're going to go ahead and freeze the rotation so we don't hit something and flip around, which is especially fun when the camera is following your player and then just everything looks like dizzy, vomit-inducing good times. And I'll add a box collider 2D. We'll keep up that weirdness where we've got this collider underneath him. That's his feetsies. So we can see if we're on the ground or not. So I'm just going to drag that down. Use my mouse scroll wheel to zoom in. So that's just down under here, just under his feet. Slide that to about center. So he couldn't, at this point, if he landed on this foot on the ledge, he'd slip. Just pull that out some more. It's going to be very forgiving ledge jumping because of the way the sprite's set up. The box collider 2D needs to be set to is trigger, and then we're going to basically make a new script that's a copy of the old side scroller. So it's going to be side scroll. I'm just going to call it side scroll night. Why not? Never say that to me again.
I'm sorry.
But if you're really sick, like,
I'm not.
okay. All right. I'm going to do the cheap thing since we're trying to speed run, and I'm just going to copy all this stuff over, and we'll figure it out. All right. And we can see on canvas where things are different. So I highlighted it. We'll just do this. Okay. I think he's got everything. So he's got move, jump force, all this stuff we had before. This is new. So we got an access to the animator so that we can tell it which animation to play. We're also accessing the sprite renderer, which in the past we've used to like change colors on things. We'll do something even crazier this time. We're setting up rigid body, and then the same thing here on start. I'm getting the animator, and I'm getting the sprite renderer, which hopefully we've got. First thing we're doing is getting the horizontal input. We did that before. And then transforming, right? So if it's moving right, go right, move left. Here's something crazy and different that we're doing, all this stuff. So if the horizontal input is greater than 0, then we're telling our sprite renderer not to flip. And we're going to set that Boolean right here is running to true. That just means start calling that animation. Same thing here, but if horizontal input is less than 0, means we're going the other way. We've got input, it's not 0, it's less than. We're still doing this, we're still going to call that Boolean and say set the is running to true, but we're flipping the sprite on the X.
I'm sorry.
I said, don't cough anymore, and he said, I'll still interrupt you somehow. And so that's a cool thing where I didn't have to go find a sprite sheet where the knight was facing both ways. I could just flip them. And then else, it's not greater than 0. It's not less than 0, our input. Then it's 0. That's all that's left. Then we're setting the is running Boolean to false. And so we stop the running animation. It'll kick back to idle. And then this part of it is the same. Actually, I'm just going to save this and we'll look at it so we can see the differences here on Canvas. They're highlighted for us. All right. So that's the part we just looked at. These are the new bits that are highlighted. And then animate. So all I'm doing is my jump is still the same. I'm adding force, boosting him up, but I'm also saying, hey, set that Boolean is jumping to true. And so that's going to call the first few frames of him like leaping up. The animator controller is going to say, okay, that's over, and it'll flip over to the mid-air bit and just loop that eternally until we land again. And so as soon as we hit the ground, we say is grounded is true, which means we could jump again, but then we're also going to set that Boolean back to is jumping false. So again, that'll kick back to idle. Let's just make sure this worked and I'm not just a total complete liar. It could happen. Oh, let's do that too. I'm just gonna hide Slimy really quick. I'm gonna tell the main camera that it needs to follow the night player now instead. All right, he's bopping. Zoom in. Running, and then he stops. And that's kind of an aggressive bop. I'm a little concerned. Okay, jumps. So we got some serious delay on that animation. Oh, I know what to do. Okay. So it all works. It all gets called eventually, but it takes a little while. So let me fix that with a couple of check boxes. Save this. I'm going to come back to my animator window. And basically the problem is our transitions here. So coming out of idle, in this transition, we're saying it has exit time, which we're basically telling it, wait until that current idle animation is done before you do your next thing. No, we want this to feel responsive. So I'm just going to uncheck has exit time. Same with walk. I'm going to uncheck that. As soon as we're done walking, stop that. And then go back to the idle animation. Jump. So that transition between idle and jump, I'm unchecking has exit time. I think I'm fine leaving that one because we want it to be able to finish before we start just looping that mid-air bit. And the same thing here on mid-air, I'm going to uncheck has exit time. Let me just plan ahead. So from any state to attack, it already says there's no exit time. It's just going to do it. And the attack's kind of cool. We want to see all that. I'm going to leave the exit time on there. So the only place where I've still got that has exit times checked is between attack and idle and jump and midair. And everything else, I just turned off all that has exit time checkbox nonsense. And hopefully it'll feel a little more responsive now. Cool. 40 minutes left on the clock. All right, let's move on to the next thing. So we just need to get him to attack. I'm not going to put that in the movement script. I'm going to make a new script for him. First, let me just make sure that I make a prefab out of this so I don't lose it. So I'm going to take my night player. See, it's not blue, so it's not being saved anywhere else. I'm just going to drag him down into prefabs. And now everything we've got on him is saved. We're going to give him one more cool script. Close all that stuff down. And then remind me, because I'm going to forget and I'm going to mess it up, and it's going to mess all of you up. Remind me to save what I'm doing for the attack to the prefab, okay? Or show you how to do that. Not now. I mean, my memory's bad, but it's not that bad. Okay, I think we're just going to call it attack. I think that's what we decided we were going to do. So I'm going to new script, attack. Check canvas, make sure I'm not lying to myself. Yeah, we called it attack. Cool. All right. I'm just going to, again, steal from myself, and we'll explain it as we go. Unity, open the attack script. replacing the guts of it with all this stuff. Just for general OCD-ness, I delete the stuff I don't need. All right, so we're going to have a bullet prefab that we're going to have, and so it's going to know what to fire. And then we're going to have a fire point, where to start it from. And then, of course, just like the other one, we need access to our animator so we can call the right animations. We've got a Boolean, which is going to fire forward or backwards the same way our guy's moving forward or backwards. And then bullet force is how fast do we shoot that thing. So just like on side scroll, on start, I'm just getting the stuff that I need. And so on start, I'm getting my animator just so I know who to talk to. And then on update, I'm not moving my guy, but I'm keeping track of the horizontal input the same way, walking back and forth. And so if the horizontal input's 0, I'm just leaving it where it's at. If it's more than 0, I'm just making sure that fire forward is true. If it's less than 0, I'm saying fire forward is false, which means it's fire backwards. Good job. Good job, Brady. I knew you knew that. All right. And then I'm getting the input for fire 1, which is just like the horizontal and vertical and the jump. It's something already set up for us in Unity. It's just there. And fire 1 is like, it's like your left mouse click. It's the control button. If you've got a controller, I keep forgetting to bring it and use it. If you've got a controller, then it's mapped to something already. So on fire 1, then I'm just setting this trigger, do attack. Again, I don't have to unset it because triggers just happen and they go away. And then I'm calling this other function of mine called fire bullet. And so fire bullet is going to create a new bullet that is a copy of whatever we told it the bullet is. It's going to create it at this fire point position and rotation, and then we're just saying as GameObject just so it doesn't get confused. So we're saying create a bullet at this point with this rotation, which it doesn't really matter, it just wants a rotation. We're going to use a round bullet so it won't be as big of a deal. Then we're going to get the rigid body off the bullet. So our bullet needs to have a rigid body or none of this is going to work. And then we check that fire forward. So if we're supposed to fire forward, then we're going to grab the rigid body of the bullet and add force to the right times our bullet force. This is how force pushes work in Star Wars. You just didn't, this is the whole, like the back, yeah. Basically it's midichlorians. That's what these are. Sorry. So if we're not supposed to fire forward, then there's no transform dot left. It's negative transform dot right. Weird, but that's the way it is. And so we're just going to fire it the other way, times the bullet force. And then this is very nice. We're going to say, hey, destroy that new bullet after 2 seconds, because otherwise they just go on forever. If I'm like spamming my fire key, Unity is keeping track of every one of these physics objects. So I can eventually crash Unity by firing too many bullets. So after 2 seconds, just make it go away. It either hit something or didn't. All right, save this script that I copy pasted, and I need to go into Unity and make cool stuff happen. And wait for that. All right, I'm going to go into prefab mode here. So I've got my night player. And thanks for reminding me, Sabrina. That's a good idea. Yes, I should save that. So up here, I added something to the prefab just in the scene. And so now this is the only version of the prefab that does that. But if I come over here in the inspector at the very top where it says overrides and say apply all, well, now then that attack script is on the prefab as well. So I can have different versions. Now, there's another way to do this. I'm going to select night player. I'm going to click this little arrow next to it. And that goes into prefab mode. And auto save is on. So now any changes that I make are automatically going to apply to the prefabs. So we need a bullet and we need a fire point. And fire point is just going to be a point in space that is a child of the night player that says, hey, start the bullet here. So here I'm going to right click on night player and I'm going to create empty, which is just I'll name it fire from here. It's just a point in space. And right now it's at 0, 0. So if I turn that on, I can see that's right there. If I need it there. I did the math before. So I'm going to drop it down by negative 0.25, but it's keeping it centered. So fire from here, I'm moving down to negative 0.25. And so it's right here at his shield hand. And since he's going to flip, he flips around this axis when he goes back and forth. So this is just a good spot in the middle. So it'll fire this way, or when he's flipped, it'll fire the other way. So it's a nice center point. And then I've got it kind of where his hand or shield's at. So I've got that set up. So I'll save that. And then if I go up to Night Player, then I've got this fire point that it's looking for. I'm just going to drag that over here. And now it knows where to start bullets from. Now I need to create a bullet. So go back. And I'm just going to create one in space here. So I'm just going to do Assets, GameObject, 2D sprites. We can have actual missiles. We can fire bunnies. We can do whatever. I'm just going to do a circle for now, just to keep it simple. Classic. All right, that's a really big bullet. Hit me. Just get a cord out and fix this. All right. And it died. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to see what I did. So I'm going to make it smaller. Yellow, I didn't say what size. Okay, awesome. Fun. All right, so I'm just going to scale it to whatever looks right to me. So that's the scale tool. I'm going to be able to see it. So yeah, right about there. It's like 0.3. If I click this and then type 0.3 in here, then that's going to lock and it's going to scale it to 0.3 all across. I can make it colored, whatever color. I think we, at least on canvas, I said we would make it yellow. Okay, so that's just circle. I'm going to call it energy bullet. I need to add some stuff to it. So I'll add the circle collider to it. So circle collider 2D. Make that a trigger so that we get cool stuff later from it. So we can see if it hits something. And then I'm going to give it a rigid body. Otherwise, we can't add force to it. So it needs to be a physics object. So add rigid body 2D. I'm going to turn the gravity off. So set the gravity to 0, and it'll just fly forward. I was going to say for forever. It'll fly forward for 2 seconds. Otherwise, we can leave the gravity on, and it would be like a little yellow bomb that's kind of lobbing, and it'll eventually fall. But I want to fire straight. So we just got this. We colored it. We sized it. We added a rigid body and a collider to it. The collider is his trigger, and so I'm going to take this energy bullet and drop that in my prefabs folder too. It needs to be a prefab or it won't really work. So now I've got energy bullet. I don't even need it in my scene now. So I'm going to delete it, come back to my night player. I'm going to go back into prefab mode. I can just drag this from here to the bullet, and that'll be my bullet. Fun thing. If I wanted to, I could fire slimes. I could fire keys, coins, whatever. We can be silly. So maybe we'll do that next, but let's just make sure this works. So, okay. What? Oh, I must have double clicked the play button. It came on for like a bit and then went away. Good. I was hoping it wasn't that it crashed or something. Okay, so he moves around, he jumps still, and if I hit fire, woof. Okay, that goes fast. It's not doing anything, but I feel cool about it. It's actually firing so fast that the little blast of his sword seems delayed. But okay, it works.
Is this bad for FPS?
Huh?
Is this bad for FPS?
I mean, it could. That's why we're deleting it after a few seconds. Like it could be, but we're not doing too much. And if you could see the computer games that I could actually play on this. This shouldn't be hurting it. If we're crashing something in 2D, we probably messed something up really bad. But I bet we could do it. All right. So that works. So that's pretty much it for my end of it. We'll make the bullets do something in phase 4. We're just going to fire stuff. If you want, see, that's that whole thing. Yeah, I don't have it in here. So if you want to do something cool with that, if you want to make the energy bullet collect coins in front of you, I don't know, like that'd be cool. Do whatever you want or not. Not required. Just make sure he fires and he jumps and he does all the things. So everything that I just did, and then follow this old video. I've got some notes here for where things go a little off track because it's old. He pioneered using Text Mesh Pro. Now it's the only thing we have. So he's making a big deal about installing it. We just get it. So you're going to make a third scene. Follow this video, and you're going to make some kind of a start screen. And that can be whatever you want. Name the game whatever you want. Add some music to it, I think we have in our rubric. And then when we hit play, you'll go to scene level 1. So you'll be doing more with that. There's options on here. Follow the instructions. Get the sliders to work. It doesn't actually do anything. It's just a cool way to look at how sliders work. We're not going to actually change the volume via that. So you want to add a title, add music. You can just, this is a version I did. And then there's some extra credit opportunities. So then you'll turn in all 3 scenes. So the start scene, level 1, level 2. All right. That's it for this video in this phase of things. And so I just wanted to get it out of the way so we could move faster. All right. We have a half hour left of class. I'll stop this.